Greetings to all of you and congratulations on this great event in your parish, the Novena to the Sacred Heart. When Father Kevin asked me to share a few words, I said I would, and then I went away and, I was wondering what I was going to say. So 3 great cornerstones for me came to mind when I think of the Sacred Heart. First one is that in every home we had a Sacred Heart picture with the Sacred Heart light in front. And that gave so much consolation. But as well as that, when we think back, and it was weaved into our culture, the ESB, for example, that's the first place that put a light was under the Sacred Heart. They asked, where was the Sacred Heart light going? And of course, electricians do the same thing. So it gave that consolation when trouble struck, a storm or lightning or something, your grandfather or your grandmother or your parents, they went to the Sacred Heart and they said, we place all our trust in you. And the second cornerstone that comes up for me is, I don't want to be flattering him now, but it's Father Kevin. And he was assisted by Father John Fitzgerald when they gave a mission in Kilcommon a number of years ago now. But when we think back on parish missions in Kilcommon, that's the one that stands out. Even I was speaking with my mother the other day, I was discussing the whole thing of the Sacred Heart. And that's the first thing she said was, do you remember the mission of the Sacred Heart missionaries when they came to Kilcommon, Father Kevin and Father John Fitzgerald? And I think we remember it because of the Sacred Heart. It was so touching, it was so emotional, there was so much compassion conveyed, as you know, with the powerful man that you have here, he can deliver that. That's his charism, and that's powerful. So that's the second cornerstone that comes to me when I think of the Sacred Heart. The third one is a very interesting one, actually, and it conveys, I suppose, in a sense, the power of that Sacred Heart image, that Sacred Heart picture. And that happened for me back in 2007 now. I was on my way to Dublin one day, and I was on the train. And I really do believe that I had the encounter with this man so that I could share it with everybody. So this is a great opportunity for me to share it, and I thank Father Kevin for giving me this opportunity. I was on the train, and the train was just chock-a-block now on this particular day. And I think we were rolling into Portarlington, and I saw this man standing on the platform, and there was a glow. There was just like a halo around him. And as I say, there was a lady sitting outside me, and the whole avenue was locked with people. But the next thing, when I looked out here to my right, I see this man, the man that was on the platform. He is now here on my right, and he says, "Can I sit down?" The lady had left. I said, "Of course. There's nobody sitting here." So we started on our journey to Dublin, and we exchanged stories. And anyway, it emerged that he was going to Scotland for the Legion of Mary. He was spending 4 weeks of his holidays promoting the Legion of Mary in Scotland. And I says, how have you decided to do this in your life? He said, this is the way it happened. He said, I went to England, and he said, I was there for 25 years. I never went to confession, and I never went to church. And then he said, my father died, and I came home. And of course, I went to church then, and I went back again. And then my mother died, and I had to come home again. So I went back again then, when my mother died, back to England. But he said, for some reason, I could never settle anymore in England. So I came home. And I was working, but he said I was staying in my old home. And one evening, I came in from work into the kitchen, and I looked up at the Sacred Heart picture. And he said, I fell down on my knees crying, thinking of my mother and my father, who took me to Mass and who said the rosary in front of this picture for many years when I was a kid. So he said, I fell down on the ground crying with a burning desire in my heart to go to confession. He said, I didn't want to go to the local man because It would be too embarrassing to tell him. That was 25, 30 years since I went. So he said, I waited for the following Saturday and I headed for Knock. And I met a priest in Knock. And the most powerful words I ever heard was, the priest at the end of my confession said, I absolve you from all the sins of your past life. He said, I left Knock that day with a spring in my step. And I promised Mary on that day that I would spend for the rest of my life 4 weeks every year promoting the Legion of Mary. But he said it started with the Sacred Heart that evening that I came in from work. And I looked up at the picture and all the memories just came showering back to me. And I thought of my father and my mother and the prayers that we said in front of the Sacred Heart and how they placed all their trust in the Sacred Heart. And I suppose today, definitely in my lifetime, I think we need Jesus now more than ever. As the hymn says, we need the Sacred Heart now more than ever. We need it, I think, to evangelize our youth in our homes, parents, devotion to the Sacred Heart. And I think as well, you know, that faith is picked up. It's just picked up. It's picked up in the kitchen. It's picked up in the living room. By the way we do things, by the reverence that we have for the sacred. I think that's the most powerful message we can give to young parents today. So as a father, as a grandfather, that would be my suggestion. I try and hold myself to it, that we convey our faith through the Sacred Heart in a very, very natural way. It's probably the greatest thing that we can do for the next generation as parents. So God bless you. It's great to be with you. I thank Father Kevin again for the opportunity and indeed all the support that he gives us here in the parish through our CDs. We like to evangelize through music. That's our calling. Fergus O'Sullivan and myself. And we look forward to sharing some more thoughts through music and song with you. We place all our trust in you, sweetheart of Jesus. God bless.